What is up, America? I'm at the main table, got my shades on, my headphones plugged into nothing. That can only mean one thing. It's time for another edition of PlayUSA's Friday 5. I am at Grant D. Lucas in the Twitterverse, at Grant Lucas in the real world, ready to deal out 5 things that have my attention this week, right after I get rid of these ridiculous things. Before we get going, as always, be sure to like us, subscribe, and to get notifications when we update new content. Make like a spelling bee judge disqualifying a 13-year-old for misspelling hippopotamonstrosesquipedaliophobia, and ring that bell. Fear of long words, hippopotamonstrosesquipedaliophobia. Next contestant, spell irony. Alright, anyway, let's get to it. Let's shuffle up and deal with this week's 5. The World Series of Poker is back. In April, the coronavirus pandemic was starting to really spike, and as it did with virtually everything around the world, COVID-19 forced Nevada to shut down businesses, restrict gatherings, and postpone the world's largest poker tournament. Originally scheduled to begin May 26 at the Rio, Las Vegas, the World Series of Poker was pushed back by Caesars Entertainment, but Caesars didn't cancel the event. The company remained optimistic that a 2020 edition of the WSOP would happen. Fast forward 7 months and Caesars has indeed found a way to sneak in the main event before the new year. The annual celebration of poker will go on in a way that not only helps preserve the sport, but perpetuates a vertical that could help poker thrive even more. Let's kick it off at number 5. WSOP now live and online. It was something of a personal achievement to watch the main event whittle away competitor after competitor for 13 days until a champion was crowned. It's also something about how much time you had on your hands, but that's beside the point. In any other year, the entire WSOP would take place in person. But, as should be written on the tombstone that is 2020, this is unlike any other year. So, the WSOP adjusted. Travel restrictions and attempting to keep track of more than 8,500 main event players during this pandemic is impossible. This year, then, a hybrid tournament will go into effect. Start the main event with online play and conclude it all in person at the Rio. What's more, the WSOP will run 2 brackets, one international and one in the US, and crown 2 champions before pitting those 2 winners head to head. More on that in a bit. Point being, starting November 29th internationally and December 13th domestic, the WSOP will get underway online. Moving on to number 4, legitimizing the legalization of online poker. The only hitch to this plan is availability. For starters, only 4 states have launched legal online poker. Another 2 will join that crowd within the next few months, theoretically. But WSOP.com, it's licensed to operate in only 2 states, Nevada and New Jersey. As a result, players in the US looking to enter the main event need to do so in one of those 2 states. No doubt the WSOP will have no problem filling out the US bracket, but it's hard to ignore the bummer of limited states with legal online poker. With the exception of 2020, more on that in a minute, online poker revenue has decreased in recent years. But that doesn't necessarily mean decreased interest from the public. What the 2020 main event does is shed light on the vertical. It legitimizes online poker. It's a stretch to think that states will take notice and ultimately legalize the industry because of the World Series of Poker this year, but being a part of the world's biggest poker tournament isn't a terrible thing to have on online poker's resume. On to number 3, champ v champ to get a champ. Like I said earlier, the WSOP will run 2 brackets this year, international and US. Each tournament will pay out prize money to qualified entrants, and 1 winner will come out of each. This will set up a fireworks finish December 30th at the Rio. The international winner will go heads up against the US champ. On the line, the title of world champion. Oh, and $1 million. I guess that's significant. It's yet another layer of the 2020 main event that is not only unique, but could become a mainstay. Who knows? Regardless, we'll get a true world champ this year. One-on-one. Awesome. Down to number 2, poker on the rise in 2020. As with online gambling in general, poker truly spiked during summer 2020. There's no better example of this trend than New Jersey. The Garden State launched online poker in November 2013. Heading into March of this year, New Jersey hadn't recorded a month with over $2 million in revenue since August of 2017. The last month of over 3 million came in October 2016. Just 4 times did New Jersey have a month exceeding $3 million in revenue. Cut to March 2020, which recorded $3.6 million to set a revenue record for the state. For 8 straight months, New Jersey online poker accounted for at least $2 million, including 6 months of over $3 million. Certainly stay-at-home orders, social distancing guidelines, and the like contributed to such popularity, but look at April, when it spiked, and the coronavirus pandemic was really taking hold. That month, online poker in New Jersey peaked at over $5.1 million. It'd be a stretch to believe this trend will continue long-term, but hey, it's at least proof that online poker is still on people's minds, at least for now. In this week's number 1, ending 2020 on a high note. A crazy year like this cannot just peter out. What kind of optimism and hope does that create for 2021? We've had some examples of inspiration in sports, like the NBA returning and crowning a champ, same with the NHL and MLB, the NFL and college football restarting. Normalization, or as normal as normalization can be in 2020, started to set in. To have the WSOP, the world's largest poker tournament, find a way to sneak in under the wire like this, that's how you end a year. You end it with legal online poker mixed with the traditional in-person final table. You organize a heads-up showdown between international and U.S. champions. You do so on the WSOP's home turf, the Rio. All just before the clock strikes 0 on 2020. Those are the kind of fireworks you can end a year on. That'll wrap us up for this week's Friday 5. Thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to like us, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. Enjoy the weekend, and I will catch you all again next time for a brand new episode of PlayUSA's Friday 5.